kids, it's Mr. and Fly here, hope you're well. Now, I'm out and about on the little Street Triple R today, a bike that I've raved about loads and loads over the years, over the 4 years in fact that I've owned it now. But nothing's perfect, is it? And there are some things about the Street Triple R that actually aren't that great, so I thought it only fair and to be a bit balanced to tell you what they are. So stick around and stay tuned. This is my top 10 things that I absolutely hate about the Triumph Street Triple R. So, number 10 on the list then, of my top 10 hates for the Street Triple R, is actually the tank range. Now, it's not a huge hate this, because it's not a lot different to other bikes, but this bike I get about 130 miles until the, hello sir, until the low fuel light comes on. So come about 100 miles, I'm starting to anticipate the low fuel light coming on, and then at 130 it does, and then I've never run a dry, so I assume it's got about another 20. So say there's 150 miles in the tank, but I tend to be looking for fuel every 130 miles. So that's my number 10 hate then, is the, well, I guess it's a cross between small fuel tank, I'm not sure what the capacity is, and the range being about 130 between fuel stops. Number 10 on the list. So to number 9 on the list, and again this isn't a major gripe, and it's also not actually just applies to the Street Triple R, but in fact most new Triumphs, and that is number 9 on the list, the plastic fuel, reservoirs for the brake fluid, and that applies to the front and back. Now in this case, as you can see, I've replaced them with the anodised version, which looks much nicer, and I've done that on the front and back reservoirs, and they look great like that. But you shouldn't have to do that, should you, when you buy a bike? And I think pretty much all the Triumphs come with plastic reservoirs. I know on the newer bikes, the new Bonnevilles, they've done it's a different sort of plastic now. It's see-through and smoked and looks a bit better generally. Thank you, sir. But nonetheless, they're still not as nice as the anodised ones, so please Triumph, stick those on your new bikes, anodised ones, in the first place. So that's number 9 on the list, the cheapo plastic brake reservoirs that come with the bike. Well, the cyclists are all out again today. Mind you, can't blame them on a day like this. Anyway, to number 8 then, on my top 10 list of things I hate about the Street Triple R. Number 8 on the list, bit of an odd one this, not one that I've spoken about before, I don't think, on YouTube, but and I've not actually heard others talk about it, so it makes me wonder whether it's actually a peculiarity to me or this bike, but it's the handling. Now I don't mean that overall, because the handling generally on the Street Triple R is fantastic, but if you're riding very slowly, I sometimes find that when you corner, it has a tendency to want to sort of tip into the corner. It feels like the handlebars want to move in and the bike wants to tip in. Both ways, it's not one way or the other, and I've not experienced that on another bike. Now that might be, it might be designed that way, and when you're riding at normal road speeds, you know, here I am doing 40 miles an hour down this road, the handling is absolutely superb. But it's just when you're going slowly, it has that tendency to tip in. So that's my number 8 on my list of hates, the sort of feeling that the bike wants to tip into the turn sometimes when you're going slowly. More cyclists. Not that there's anything wrong with that. What a simply stonking day for going for a ride on your motorbike. Now the weather doesn't really get better than this in Blighty. This is as good as it gets. 24 degrees, blue skies, gorgeous. So we're starting to get down our list now then, so we're at number 7 at the top 10 hates that I have for the Street Triple R. And number 7, I've mentioned it many times, and I just don't understand why bike manufacturers do this. And it's again not just Triumph that do this, because I have the same problem with my Ducati. But why on earth didn't Triumph put a fuel gauge on this bike? So, because I don't have a fuel gauge, I have to always set the trip counter. Hello, sir. So I know when I'm getting low on fuel. Now, it does have the low fuel light, of course, which is handy, but I just like to know where I stand. So if I forget to reset that trip, I'm in trouble. This is a great road. Now, the good news is that on the modern day street triples, this is a 2012 model, on the current ones there is a fuel gauge, so that has been resolved, so well done Triumph. But for me, that is a real pain in the backside. No fuel gauge on the 2012 Street Triple R. That's my number 7 of the top 10 things I hate about this bike. So to number 6 on my top 10 list of things I hate about the Street Triple R. Now this is a bit of an odd one, this chaps, and well, I have to admit to feeling a little bit fraudulent, because try as I might, rack my brains as I could, I just cannot think of another 6 things that I don't like about the Street Triple R. In fact, the 4 things that I've come up with so far are kind of minor niggles. They're not really hates at all. The truth is, this bike is absolutely fantastic. I've owned this now for just on 4 years, and there's very, very little I can find at that time that I don't like about it. She's comfortable, she sounds great, she's fast, she looks good, she's fairly cheap to run, she's a Triumph, for goodness sake, she's British, and I'll say it again, she's a Triumph, and I mean that in both senses of the words. So there we have it. I hope I've not misled you too much there, because the Street Triple R really is a great little bike, and there's really nothing that I can find that to hate about the bike. It's just friendly and it's fun and it's a great little bike. Doesn't matter which one you've got, whether it's an old one like this, a 2012, or one of the newer ones. They are just top-notch machines. So there we are. So I hope I haven't let you down too much there. I've not been able to come up with a top 10 list of things I hate about the bike. Sorry about that. Anyway, there we are. Until next time, this has been the Messenden Fly. Cheerio.